Hi there guys, and welcome once again to Jonesy's vlog. So I'm going to start off this video with a statement, and it's a pretty big statement. I started following Leeds United to away games in, I think it must have been 2003. It's when things had started to go pretty pear-shaped and pretty sour. So it was about 2003. So since then, I worked out the other day, I've been to 66 or 67 away games with Leeds United officially, and that's included about 51 different grounds. And Millwall on Saturday is without a doubt the worst away day I have ever had, and it's sort of up there with Reading last season away, with that last minute winner they scored, and losing 3-0 away at Swindon on a Wednesday night when we were back in League One. I think it was our promotion season, I'm not too sure about that, but yes, that was pretty awful. But for so many different reasons, Saturday has topped that list of worst away days for me, and I will get to all of those points in a minute. But it was literally one of those days where every single aspect of the day I did not enjoy. You know, usually you can well, with us, you know, there's so many away days where the performance has really let everyone down, but maybe the atmosphere's been enjoyable, or something funny's happened on the journey, or it's, you know, there's always something to kind of brighten the day up. Well, that didn't happen on Saturday. But like I say, I'll get to all that in a minute. So first of all, the match. Like I'd said in the previous vlog, I was slightly worried going into this match, because I felt that after the showing against Dundee United, if we were to play anything like that, then I felt that Millwall would win very easily and have a very comfortable victory. And that's exactly what happened. There wasn't much improvement from what I saw from the Dundee United game to the game yesterday. Sorry, on Saturday. Like I said before, you don't want to take too much away from you know, pre-season games and everything, because you know, once it gets into that competitive situation, you know, things always change, usually change. But on Saturday, that didn't happen. I don't know what the thinking was in the tactics, in the team selection, just everything surrounding the squad and team. I just could not understand on Saturday. The players looked completely clueless. They looked like they'd never particularly played together before. They looked very frightened, they looked very scared, they looked really nervous. Our defence was pretty, well, it was non-existent for the first goal, for the Millwall goal, just letting a player have free roaming spot on the penalty in the penalty area from a corner is unforgivable, and is pretty basic Sunday League stuff. You know, I couldn't understand what was going on there. But throughout the whole game, you know, defensively we never looked very tight. We never looked too comfortable. Going forward, we had no ideas going forward. We didn't know how to create anything. It was very much, we went back to a long ball system. I mean, Dave Hockaday has been saying about, you know, all this pass and move and crisp sort of movement throughout pre-season. Well, that disappeared on Saturday. We didn't see any of that. Just a lot of hopeless, aimless balls upfield, mainly to Noel Hunt, the smallest player on the pitch, and obviously that worked out really well. Dukara looked, well, he just never got into the game really. He didn't seem to know what he was doing. The midfield, Austin was appalling, Luke Murphy was appalling. At the back, Stephen Warnock was really poor at left back, and Byram at right back as well. You know, yesterday after hearing that we'd not accepted something around a £5 million bid from Southampton, well, on yesterday's performance I'd have snapped the hands off at that price, because going forward, he seemed again very scared. He didn't seem like he wanted to take any defenders on or any players on. He kept getting beaten in defence. You know, the only little bright spots from the performance, I thought Nicky Jonesy looked okay. You know, I said to my mate who I went with that, you know, at least he looks better than Cameron Stewart. But then my mate did point out, you know, that wasn't really difficult. He had a fair point there. But I thought, you know, at least he looked a bit more, you know, he was given a little bit more intent going forward. I think Matt Smith sort of livened things up a little bit when he came on in the second half, and we had a little 5-minute spell where we sort of upped the pace a bit and started kind of attacking the Millwall defence, but it never ever got past that, it never got above that. Overall, it was just all the basics just seemed to fly out the window yesterday. It was just, like I said, there was no cohesion in the team. They just didn't, you know, they were getting the ball, and I mean the most passes they must have been getting was just probably between Pearce and Wootton and Warnock, back to Pearce, back to Wootton, to Byram, go forward a bit and then passing it back. If that's the crisp, you know, and flowing passing that Hockaday's talking about, then I really worry for this season. Like I say, the only good part of the game, the brightest spot of the game was, like I say, that 5-10 minute spell in the second half. I mean, we made it so easy for Millwall. I mean, they didn't even have to get into second gear on Saturday. You know, they didn't have to play well to look like they were playing well. You know, we made them look like such a good side. And you know, I'm not taking anything away from Millwall, because all they had to do was the basics that we didn't do right, and they won the game fair and square, and I have absolutely no bones about it. But you know, last night on Twitter, a lot of people were saying, you know, I don't want to take too much from the first game of the season, judges after, you know, 9 to 10 games. But you know, I do want to take a lot from that, because that's the first showing, you know, of our competitive season, and no matter how you look at it, that was not good enough, and that was worrying. That was a really worrying performance. Because for me, again, I said it to my mate, even a couple more signings is not going to improve what we saw yesterday. And it's just from all levels. You know, the players should be ashamed of themselves. Hockaday should, and Chelino. You know, everyone needs to be involved in this. You know, this is everyone's fault. You know, Chelino's messing about with transfers, you know, off the field. We have no idea what's going on there. He seems to be telling lies after lies. You know, saying that a player is coming and that he's been training when he hasn't. You know, I really don't see what game he's playing, and I don't understand it, and it's not fair, it's not right. My feelings towards Hockaday have changed a little bit over the past week or so, because I do believe that he probably is trying his absolute hardest. You know, and I don't doubt that for a second, but for me, his hardest just isn't going to be good enough in this setup, and it just isn't going to work. And yesterday, whether the players were carrying out his plans, or whether that was his plan yesterday, either way, it's not looking good, is it? You know, it either means that his plans don't work, or the players don't respect him, or aren't willing to go by his ideas and his tactics. So yeah, like I say, for me, absolutely zero positives to take from. Oh well, no, not zero positives. I thought Lewis Cook looked alright when he came on. He looked a bit lively, although he did do an awful pass which led to the penalty, which he incidentally gave away, which I don't think was a penalty. I don't think there was any contact there whatsoever. I think their player just left his leg out, and even then there wasn't any contact. But then again, arguably they could have had a penalty earlier in the game. So, you know, things do even themselves out. So yeah, after the first game of the season, I am still worried and struggling to find any positives at the moment. And we go on to Tuesday night against Accrington Stanley, who, if they were to look at our performance and they start off well on Tuesday night, they could quite easily cause a pretty massive upset on Tuesday night, because like I say, if they get off to a good start, and obviously the crowd will probably get on the players back at that point, and they'll start to feel more pressure and feel more nervous. They could very easily beat us Tuesday night. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. I think it's a massive game. A lot of people will say no, it's a nothing game, and it's not. I think Tuesday night is just as massive and just as important as our game against Middlesbrough on Saturday. And I think it'll show what the players are made of. It'll show what Hockaday is made of, and it could be a little bit of a turning point. So yeah, we'll have to see about that. So that's the match done and out the way. Like I say, no positive state from it, and was just one part of the dismal day that I had. So the second part, obviously going down to Millwall, the first thing people always talk about is obviously the atmosphere and the Millwall fans and the rivalry and everything, and is kind of one of the things that maybe puts people off. And I know it's been putting me off wanting to go for a good while, but I thought, I'm wanting to try and get as many stadiums done as I can, so I need to tick it off the list at some point. And with it being the first game of the season, I thought, why not? Let's do it. Surely it can't be like people say. And really looking back at it, it isn't as bad or intimidating as people say. There was no point in the day where I felt unsafe. Obviously, I went down on the official coach, so I can only say it from that point of view. I didn't go down on the train. There's no escort as such to the ground or anything, and when you get to the ground, as you'll have seen in my video yesterday, my away days video that went out, you're sort of in this enclosed area anyway where Millwall fans can't get to you. So from a safety aspect of things, there was no point in the day where I felt unsafe or that anything was going to happen. Obviously I was expecting some chants from the Millwall fans, because it happens every year and everyone says about it, and I was actually quite near to the section of Millwall fans that always seem to sort of cause the trouble. So I thought, I'll get a real idea of what it is and what it's like. And again, as you see in the video, which I will put a link in the description for those that haven't seen it, it only took 5 minutes for the first Istanbul chant to come out, but that was a minority. I've been to quite a few places over the years and heard various Turkish songs. I've been to Leicester, been to Sheffield Wednesday, been to Old Trafford, and heard opposition fans singing about it, and usually it is a minority of maybe 20, 30 sort of fans. And yesterday, to begin with, it was sort of maybe around that number that we're doing those kind of chants, maybe 50, 60, 70 people. But then they started really getting into the Jimmy Savile chants that they were doing. And it is wrong and it is disgusting. It doesn't quite affect me or get to me as much as sort of the Istanbul stuff. But I mean, this wasn't a minority, this was a large number of that block that you can sort of see from the camera angle that I'm at, that was singing it. And there were a Millwall fan on Twitter sort of saying, oh, it's only banter and everything, which I suppose, when the Leeds fans kind of react with songs about it as well, maybe it is banter, but when you look at what they're singing about, it is wrong. It shouldn't be sung about at football matches like that, especially when there were little kids sat round about me. It's bad enough that you're at a football match, you're going to hear foul language, foul and abusive language. Worse for it for saying it. You'll have heard it in my video yesterday. But when it comes to sort of singing about paedophilia and stuff like that, if that kid asks the dad, what are they singing about, how's he meant to explain it to him? So, they were singing that for a large majority of the match yesterday. They were really going over the top with it. So there was that. Not long after that, there was the first Always Look Out for Turks Carrying Knives song. Again, that was a minority, and that kind of went on like that throughout the whole game. And because it was like that, it was hard to sort of just dismiss it just chant boring, boring Millwall back at them, and that was kind of it. But the bit that really got to me and surprised me a lot was at the end of the game. I think it was either just before Millwall got the second and got their penalty, or it was just afterwards. But they started singing the always, look out for Turks carrying knife song. But this time it wasn't a minority. Pretty much all of that block were singing it. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of the capacity of these stands and everything, but I'd work out it was well over, probably around 1,000 people that were in that block, and the majority of those were singing that, and that is the largest number of people I've seen, singing the Turkish stuff against us, and that did get to me, and just worried me just how many of those people were quite happy to glorify the deaths of two innocent football fans. And it was that just kind of sent a really sick feeling in deep inside me, and it really wasn't nice. It wasn't nice to see, and you can't react to it. What do you do? Obviously all clubs have their idiots. Of course, Leeds United have their idiots, and there's been a lot of them over the years, and we still have them, obviously. We've had some of our fans obviously singing Munich stuff to Man United. Liverpool fans have had their fans singing Munich stuff. Man United fans sing about Hillsborough, sung about Turkey, and all sorts of fans. I'm saying those as examples, but all clubs, all sets of fans, they all have their idiots that sing these stupid, songs about tragedies and disasters. But I can't get my head around it, the mentality of the people. I could never, I've never once had any feeling or want to sing the Munich Song when I've been at a Leeds game. If I've heard some people, I've told someone to shut up because of it, and telling it, usually that's the good thing. That's when you start to feel a bit better. When, I've been at Leeds fans, I haven't heard the Munich Song at a Leeds game for years now. But the last time I did hear it, it was a group of maybe 10, 15 guys singing it, and the rest of the crowd around them told them to shut up, and that made me feel really good. But yesterday, Saturday, when you see, like I say, I can't speculate, but around 1,000 people singing that, not all Millwall fans are gonna be like that, and they must, be pretty embarrassed by that amount of people singing it. But it's scary that there is that amount of people singing it. And I don't know if there were people at the Millwall fans at the other side, nearest the Leeds fans, that were singing anything. Obviously, I couldn't hear that. Like I say, this is my first trip to Millwall, so I haven't seen what it's been like in previous years. But I've seen pictures of the year when they printed out those little Turkish flags. It was maybe 20 to 30 people that were doing that. I just got this image in my head of, there were those, say 1,000 people singing that song. If they'd have all had those Turkish flags, it makes me feel awful inside that many people were quite happily singing that song. And again, there were little kids in there. You'll see on the video, you'll see kids with about 7, 8, 9, 10 that were singing along with the Millwall fans. And they'd have been singing along with that at the end, and they won't even have been born when this tragedy happened. So do they even know what they're singing about? But if they see dad or elder brother or sister or mother singing that, then of course they're going to join in. It's just, the thing that gets to me is that you take those idiots singing those awful, vile, disgusting chants out of that crowd at Millwall. It's one hell of an atmosphere. You can see why it's intimidating for teams to go and play there. Because if it was just them, doing the famous chant that they do, and all the singing, it is a great atmosphere. And then they just let themselves down by singing the vile chants and songs that they did. And I just don't understand it. And they were quite happy. You could see the smiles on their faces as they were doing it, and doing stabbing gestures and doing the whole death thing. And anyway, I think that's enough of that. I've given them enough time there. So that was another thing that ruined the day. Coming away from the ground, again sort of coming back through, police had things pretty well organised and sorted out really. There were one or two idiots that, you know, there was something that hit our coach. I have no idea what it was. It sounded maybe like a bottle, but I didn't even see where it came from. There was one or two idiots just on their own trying to sort of take on a whole coach, which was interesting to see from the outside, and was funny seeing them getting tackled by the police. But apart from that, there was no other trouble that I saw. Like I said, I don't know if anything happened with those that went on the train or not. Although we did see one Millwall fan staggering about with his t-shirt ripped and a blooded stained eye, so obviously something had happened somewhere. So there's that. And the journey was absolutely appalling. On the way down there'd been no real issues, but for some, you know, we thought we were going to make it there in pretty decent time, and by the looks of it we were going to be getting to the ground pretty early. But then the coach driver seemed to take a very long route to the ground. Like I say, it's my first time going to Millwall, but after going to Charlton last season I kind of knew roughly where we were going, and we didn't go the way I was thinking. And there were quite a few people on my coach that have been to Millwall before that said this isn't where we normally go. It added quite a bit of distance to the journey, and I mean the traffic was bad enough anyway. So actually by the time we got into the ground it was about 2:30. So that kind of got people a little bit, you know, uppity. You know, people like to get there early, have a few drinks and that wasn't really allowed to happen. So there's a journey there, and then the journey out. Well, obviously the game finished at 10:05, and we only just made it out of London at about 7 o'clock, I think. About 6:30 when we 6:30, just after, when we got out of the London area. The traffic away from Millwall from the ground was just ridiculous. It took absolutely ages, and it was pretty much just chocker, you know, traffic from the ground to like I said, to the outskirts of London. Made worse by the fact that we were on coaches that didn't have any toilets, so we had to have at least 2 stops there and back, when people, I think, were just wanting to get home at that point. So that was pretty bad organising from the club. Why, you know, a long journey to London, coach with no toilet, didn't quite understand that. Also on the way back, just when everyone was, you know, kind of getting to the point where they were having a bit of a sleep and just kind of you know, relaxing a little bit, going along the motorway, obviously 70 mile an hour or maybe a little bit over, suddenly coming to pretty much an emergency stop. Everyone going absolutely flying forward. I grazed my arm on the side of the window where the little curtain thing is, and obviously everyone thought we're going to crash or we're going to skid, but nothing happened. We didn't hit anything, and everyone was just looking around like, what the hell was that about? And it turned out we'd hit a goose. R.I.P. Mr. Goose. So that woke everyone up. And when we stopped at the next services, it had damaged the coach a little bit as well. So, like I say, it was just a really elongated journey for no apparent reason. So it was about 11:30, 11:45 by the time I got home yesterday. So, you know, a really long journey. I was up at 7:15. Really, like I say, dreadful journey. Some annoying people on the coach that wouldn't shut up. The match itself obviously was a pretty big downer. The experiences of the Millwall fans and just everything about it, there was nothing enjoyable about the day. And like I say, it's, for me personally, I know a lot of people obviously went to the famous Hereford match on that Tuesday or Wednesday night, that would argue that was worse. But for me personally, out of all the games I've been to, without a doubt the worst away trip I've ever had, and I don't think I'll be going back there anytime soon. But it was another ground to tick off the list. So yeah, that's my quite long reaction really to the Millwall game. And like I say, really worried about the team. I can't see anything to be positive about, and I was choosing to ignore people last night. You know, I did put a tweet on Twitter saying, you know, if anyone dares to tell me to cheer up or try and look at the positives from yesterday, then I was going to give them a smack. And I still feel like that, because when you spent, what, it'll have been 40, 50, about 50 odd quid plus, you know, food on the way down there, the long journey itself, to see that kind of performance, I'm sorry, but there were no positives to take from that. No matter what anyone says to me, that was not a good day, it was not a good game, and we are in trouble. You know, I think we've got a really long, hard season ahead of us, and like I say, I can't see what transfers or what can change this around. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is, that's the way I feel, and I think the majority of the Leeds fans that were there yesterday felt the same, because you could feel it, because the atmosphere wasn't the same. You'll see from the video, you know, yes there was, you know, some singing from the Leeds fans, but the majority of it, we were silent because of what we were watching on the pitch. You know, no one could be bothered, it was that bad. And you know, that's saying something for a Leeds, you know, away day. I mean, we were, like I say, completely outsung, albeit by some disgusting chants, but we were completely outsung all match. And you know, it really did just show how fans are feeling about the club at the moment. You know, we're not quite as bad as what it could be. You know, you look at Blackpool and Southampton with mass exoduses and stuff like that, but you know, we are still a bit of a joke at the moment, and I personally can't see where it's going to get better. So we'll have to see. And like I say, for some strange reason, I am going to the Accrington Stanley match on Tuesday. So I'm an idiot. So that's all I've got to say, really, guys. You know, fellow fans that went with me to the game on Saturday, let me know your thoughts. You know, give me your own little sort of review of the game if you thought it was as bad as what I've said, or if you felt there were a few more positives that I maybe missed or something. Then do let me know in the comments below, or at my Twitter at Chris Jones LUFC. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the away days video that I did. Like I say, I'll put a link in the description below. To any Millwall fans maybe watching that or watching this, to the ones that were involved in the chanting, then I don't want anything to do with you, and I will not respond to you, and I will not, you know, entertain you. To the decent Millwall fans out there, of which I have spoken to one, you know, if you are watching, like I say, you fully deserve your victory, and I'm sure you are just as ashamed of the fans kind of ruining it for the rest of you as I am, because there was no need for it. So to the sensible ones out there, then, you know, please again leave your thoughts and comments below, because it isn't just, you know, I don't want to just hear from Leeds fans, you know, I always want to hear from other people's perspectives as well. So yeah, that's it from me, guys. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all very soon.